So welcome again, everyone. Again, it's good to be with you. Good to see you all. And I want to talk about community and Sangha. I've been thinking about a lot over the last few months and its importance, and especially this last week. It's been um, it's been really important in my life this last week's community and Sangha, and the things that are happening in Los Angeles. I've been downtown a lot at some of the gatherings. I've been showing up as a Buddhist chaplain because I am a Buddhist chaplain, and so as a clergy and being in community with my fellows and with other people has been really powerful, especially as we're going through a difficult time. um, Yesterday was really a great experience being together with others. And so reflecting on that, I want to talk about community and Sangha in the Buddhist context, because it's one of the three refuges. We take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So I want to talk about what that means in the Buddhist context and maybe expand that a little bit as well. Originally, the Buddhist Sangha was the community of monastics. When the Buddha became enlightened and he started to teach, and all these people were also enlightened, he invited them into a community, and they called it going forth. You went forth into homelessness. You walked away from your life, from your family, from everything. You put on robes, and you were totally dependent upon others for your support. You see that today, the monastics in the Theravadan tradition, they have nothing. They have their robes and their bowl, but that's it. I've had nuns stay with me, and I'd had to take them into the kitchen, and I say, "This is freely offered, so you can help yourself." Otherwise, they would not serve themselves, and you see them going on alms rounds and so on. So that is going forth. That was the original community of monastics that the Buddha created, of monks and nuns. But you see from the suttas that he taught more than just monastics. He taught kings, he taught laborers, he taught all people. And so the community, the Sangha, was much larger than just the Sangha of monastics, although that's commonly what we think of. And Bhikkhu Bodhi, who you probably are familiar with, he's a wonderful monk in this tradition, and he's done a lot of translating of the suttas, and he has one book, which is the Buddhist teachings on social and communal harmony, which is an anthology of discourses from the Pali Canon about community. And I just wanted to read a little piece of the foreword, the introduction. And he said, originally, when you have the community of monastics, it was the character of it was a path to spiritual liberation centered around contemplative practices and philosophical insights. But it gave rise to a broad ethic that applied not only to individual conduct, but to the relations between people living under diverse conditions, whether in monasteries or at home, whether pursuing their livelihoods in the marketplace or the workshop or in the service of the state. Under all these circumstances, the chief ethical requirement for this community was the avoidance of harm through aggression, harm by trampling on the claims of others, harm through conflict and violence. The ideal was to promote goodwill and harmony in action, speech, and thought. So it's not just a community of people that are hanging out together. You can have people hanging out together that get along really well, plotting bank robberies. That's not really the idea of Sangha, because there's not this non-harming. There's not this foundation of goodwill. There's not this foundation of ethical behavior, which is a part of the Eightfold Path. And the Eightfold Path is the path to liberation. It's also a path to how we be in harmony with others. Then the one piece of it is sila, ethical behavior, wise action, wise speech, wise livelihood, how we show up in a way that's wise and skillful. And there's that famous text in the suttas where Ananda, the Buddha's main attendant, is talking about the Sangha, is talking about community, and he's saying, it's it's half of the holy life. That's community. And the Buddha says, not so fast, Ananda. It's the whole of the holy life. He says, admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie is the whole of the holy life. When a person, he says monk, but I'm going to say person, has admirable people as friends, companions, and comrades, they can be expected to develop and pursue the noble eightfold path. So this life of community and Sangha is not just people who are committed to a life of ethical behavior, but that will support you in your journey to liberation. That we're here to support each other, whatever that looks like in this moment in time where we are. And these are really important pieces, I think, to remember. That it's grounded in ethical behavior. It's grounded in the journey to liberation. And it's grounded in this recognition that we do it together. We've come to a place in our society where it's everyone for himself, and that doesn't work. Isolation is not helpful. And there's times to go away on retreat and refresh and replenish. But we can't do it all alone. So to have this recognition, oh, Sangha is this support on this path to liberation. And there's a phrase for that, Kalyanamita, spiritual friendship. Kalyanamita, mita, which is from the same root as metta, loving kindness, goodwill, that practice. So friendship, really important. And I believe we have to 100% have this spiritual foundation, this ethical guide, these ethical guideposts that help us when we're in challenging situations. Instead of having to come up with something on the fly all the time, it's like, okay, wait, what have I committed to? Non-harming, not taking what's not offered, living with a way that's my voice, my words, my communication is kind. It's accountable. It says what needs to be said, but we do it in a loving way, in a loving manner. And so that eightfold path is a way to do it. In community, we take refuge in the Sangha, in the community, to help us on that eightfold path. And Thich Nhat Hanh, who was very big on community, he created the order of interbeing to remind us that we're all interconnected. He said that a Sangha is a community of friends practicing the Dharma together in order to bring about and maintain awareness. The essence of a Sangha is awareness, understanding, acceptance, harmony, and love. When you do not see these in a community, it's not a true Sangha. So as I said, you can have a community of people gathered together to play poker every Thursday night or go bowling or do some other things. That's not necessarily a Sangha. That's a community of folks. But the Sangha is one that is a spiritual community as well. When you find these elements present in a community, you know you have the happiness and fortune of being in a real Sangha, he continued. We also, I think, that's our goal. That's what we hope to get to. And we also have to acknowledge that we come into our communities with our biases, with our conditioning. We all have the conditioning we've experienced growing up, wherever we grew up, receiving the messages we received, whatever they were. And that part of this work is to recognize these biases and chip away at them. Because the world we live in is not it doesn't, y'all know. Y'all know. We've all experienced being an outsider. There are people, BIPOC communities, queer, trans communities, people from other countries. There's all kinds of systemic oppression. And a lot of that we've internalized because we hear messages, even though we come together in community as one. And that's been problematic in Western communities, Dharma communities, because you say, oh, we want to start. I had this experience in a community I was managing or director of years ago, we wanted to start I called it people of color group back then, or a queer group. And people said, but we're all one. They didn't understand. That's the goal. That's the aspiration. But we also have to recognize the reality of the moment of how to address what's happening, because it's like you don't show up in this room and we're all walking on a cloud. We have our baggage and our crap. And Larry Yang, who many of you know because he helped found this community, wrote a book called Awakening Together, the spiritual practice of inclusivity and community. And he writes a little bit about beloved community, which is a phrase that Martin Luther King really made famous, although the idea was developed earlier in the century by philosopher Josiah Royce. And he talks about our spiritual practice is not detached from the experiences of racism and homophobia and other forms of oppression and discrimination. And he said the yet to be achieved deep inclusivity that we aspire to in the Sangha is has not yet been achieved because of our deep cultural unconscious, which includes legacies of racism, homophobia, and other sorts of discrimination. Collective practice of awareness can elevate our community so we fulfill the aspiration to be a beloved community. There has to be a willingness to show up and address what's going on in our lives and in our world. Beloved communities are envisioned as those that embody the values of love and justice in every aspect of their being when circumstances are difficult or oppressive. A beloved community assumes that all our lives are interrelated and the social nature of our humanity is not secondary to any other aspect of life. As Dr. King reminds us over and over again, we are tied together in the single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. We are not in this by ourselves. I love that, an inescapable network of mutuality. Thich Nhat Hanh's interbeing. And the denial of that can cause so much harm. So the recognition of that can be so healing. And eventually, Larry continues, the Dharma invites the deepest intention from all communities of color, European Americans, queer folks, heteronormative folks, young people, people of different physical abilities, to be able to practice anywhere with anyone under any circumstances, and to be able to practice together in unity as a gathering of whole communities. Not so easy. But liberation and freedom is the goal, so worth the effort. So absolutely worth the effort. As I heard Ruth King said, her intention is to make it safe for people to be around her. And damn it, don't we want that from our community? To be able to go into a place to make it safe. So I think having that aspiration for our Sangha is just like step one. And to have that, to expand that out into communities we're in the world, maybe a little bit harder because people may not be on the same spiritual path, but something to bring with us as we move into the world. I think it's so incredibly important. And another piece of these teachings is that just because we walk in this room and practice together, we're not going to get, even if we are all working together, it doesn't mean we're not going to have interpersonal conflict, because we're human beings. I'm a Yankee fan. Y'all are probably Dodger fans. I was at the first game of the World Series last year, if you all are baseball fans. Anyway, it was a horrible, horrible evening. The Dodgers won in the 10th inning. It was awful. But as I was walking out and I had all my Yankee gear on, I was with my Dodger friend, and some guy came up to me and said, tacos are better than pizza. So I'm just thinking of, even that can be a conflict. It's like, and I just laughed and I'm thinking, pizza. I'm sorry, but so that's just a simple thing. But imagine that escalating into something, people can have fights over that. People could fight over that. So we're going to have conflicts of human beings of whether pizza is better than tacos or vice versa. So to have that awareness, and Martin Luther King talked about it. He said his beloved community is not devoid of interpersonal, group, or international conflict. The Buddha had that experience. There's a sutta that talks about he was at some community of monastics and they were fighting. There was a bunch of infighting and he was trying to talk to them. And at one point he's like, dudes, I'm out. And he walked away because they couldn't come together. You know, it's sometimes the our I, me, my gets in the way of recognition of how do we reconcile? How do we come together? You know, this, what is the King Center and talking about the beloved community says we have to, the King believed that conflicts could be resolved peacefully, adversaries could be reconciled through a mutual determined commitment to nonviolence. No conflict has to erupt in violence. You know, all conflicts in beloved communities should end with reconciliation of adversaries cooperating together in a spirit of friendship and goodwill. That is the aspiration. We don't avoid conflict. That's another myth about sanghas, and it tends to be conflict avoidant. Oh, we have to keep the peace. And it's like let's deal with the reality of the moment. How do we greet what's happening? How do we name it? Because there's no healing without naming it. We see this writ large today. So to have that willingness when we come to community. Yeah, and Thich Nhat Hanh also says, don't look for a perfect Sangha. That's why some people try and create a perfect Sangha. There's no perfect Sangha. Stick with it and try and improve it. If there's no Sangha available where you are, and luckily today we have Zoom and we have all these other technologies that help us come together. If there's no Sangha where you are, then, and I love this, then practice looking deeply in order to identify elements of your future Sangha around yourself right now. Members of your Sangha may be your child, your partner, and a beautiful path in the woods. The blue sky and beautiful trees are also members of your Sangha. I think this is really an important thing to remember as well, because we are nature. We don't go and visit nature and then come back. We actually are nature, we're part of it, but we've evolved to think we weren't. And Larry Ward, a teacher I admire and sit with a lot, he says he goes and sits out on his back porch every morning just to remind himself of that connection. So however that looks for you, allow these things to be brought into your lives. It's really important. Use your talent and your intuition to create a Sangha for your own support and practice, because we need Sangha so much. Because isolation can be so damaging when it's extended and not intentional. And then this is the good one. Thich Nhat Hanh said that it's possible that the next Buddha will not take the form as an individual. The next Buddha may take the form of a community practicing understanding and loving kindness, a community practicing mindful living. And the practice can be carried out as a group, as a city, as a nation. Thich Nhat Hanh was quite a visionary in so many of the things he did. And so why not an enlightened Sangha? Why not? I think it's really, really important. And so, and what can be more important right now? And so to bring the values that we have in a Sangha like this, that we're practicing together, we have spiritual friendship, and carrying these qualities out into the world, I think is really important, especially right now. And so what I want to invite you to reflect on, what do you but to reflect on this, take this stuff with you. I think this is really important. I find it's important to name where we want to go. It's like when you talk about letting go of things that don't serve, or in the practice of renunciation, I want to let go of this particular thing. It's really important to recognize what you want to bring in, because it's hard to work in a vacuum. If you don't bring, okay, I'm going to let go of this, but I'm going to work on this, or bring this in, recognition, like I have been years now trying to let go of busyness and bring in a little bit more ease, and it's happening. The idea is like, oh, I'm going to do it and I'm going to have 4 hours a day of just doing it. Yeah, no, it's just gradual, incremental. This stuff takes time. We want to get it. We want to get it like this, but be gentle and just incrementally. How do you want your community to be? Create the community that it supports you and that you can support and that has the same values, whether a spiritual community or another community. What do you want ICD to look like? I think that's a really important question too for community. And recognize you all have a part in it because you're all part of it. It's not some group over here determining what ICD is. This is a Dharma community that we build together, And how will you help to create it? I think that's important as well, whether you're online or in person, you know? And I think, and one note I wrote, and I don't know where this came from, I put down yesterday, ancestors. We have spiritual ancestors. We have 2,500 years of people who have been doing this practice. So we're not alone in a time frame either. There's this continuity of practice, this stream that we're jumping into. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful, and I invite you to try and connect in some way. So, all right, I'm going to do something really horrible that you all hate, but I love. Y'all too can do it. I'm pointing at you, Zoom. Oh, you didn't see my fingers. You too. Just sit for a moment. Sit for a moment. And just let your eyes close if you like, and just reflect. Just think of one or two qualities that are important for you in a Sangha or in a community. What would support you in your practice today? What would support you in even moving through the world today? What's meaningful for you right now? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you just to turn to the person next to you. And y'all on Zoom, you can put it in the chat if you like. And just share. So to go turn to the person next to you, find the person next to you. I don't know how many, if we're an even number or an odd number. Do y'all have a person? Everybody good? And just share okay. Y'all have a person? Is there an odd person out? You can be a third. You can make a trio. And just one person, just don't make it a difficult decision. The one person share just for a few moments. What's important to you right now? What's important to you in community? Go ahead. And if you all want to just write in the chat, or if you want, I can break into pairs. So thank you, my friends. I really, really appreciate your jumping into this conversation and this reflection. I invite you to take it with you, and because this is our community. It's our community. all y'all if you want it. And allow me to segue to say another way for you to be part of this community is volunteering. Like for this group, every week we need somebody and one or two people, I think, at least to help. And it's not difficult because Mizell sets up the chairs. You just put out the baskets and help tear it up, put it up and tear it down at the end. I mean, like I said, you don't have to do anything but put out baskets and the bell and stuff. And so that, and greet people and say hi. And it's really great. Being that person. I've done that multiple times over my life in different communities. You get to meet people because I'm always that person on the side too. And it's like, you know more people than I do. And it's like, well, maybe you should be there saying hi to people that come in. Oh, is that how it works? And then you know everybody. And then you're embarrassed because you don't remember their names, but that's a different story. So I invite you, there's a sign-up sheet on the back table. So if you'd like to, who'd like to volunteer one Sunday over the next month? Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yay. So don't forget to put your name down on the sign-up sheet. And that probably takes us into August almost. Sign up for more than one. There's plenty to go around. And that gets you into the community. And there's other ways if you're interested in volunteering other ways. Please talk to me or talk to Terrence and Rule. They're both on our board. Anything, and then reminding again about the 2 baskets in the back for Donna and y'all on Zoom. If you just go to the website, which is how you got on, and just click on the donate, you can click to support ICD and the teachers and keep this going. Rule, please.
Next Saturday.
The 21st, yes, thank you. June 21st is Joe Kai's half day, which will be here, and it's like 9:15 till 12. And that's a chance for a little bit of extended practice, which is great, which is really great. So I invite you, if you are able to come, and that's in person only, it's not on Zoom. So FYI. Anything else? Thank you for that. Okay, so thank you all for being here. I'm not sure who will be here next week, but someone will. And then there's the Tuesday night group and the Wednesday night peer-led sit and the Friday afternoon meta. So lots of stuff at ICD. And remembering, let me read this beautiful thing that Ian wrote, this sharing of merit, going forth into this world so in need of light. May I bring all the kindness and wisdom I embody to each being and each situation that I meet. May the power of my practice today, strengthen my resolve to be an agent of peace and justice in this world. Going forth together into this world so in need of light, may we together bring all the kindness and wisdom we embody to each being and each situation that we meet. May the power of our practice today strengthen our resolve to be agents of peace and justice in this world. We dedicate our practice for the liberation of all beings, the great, the small, the wise, the ignorant, the powerful, and the powerless. May all beings be liberated from sorrow and loss, hatred and injustice, scarcity and want, and every form of suffering. May our practice today be a prayer for peace, and may it benefit all beings without exception. May all beings be free. Thanks, everyone. Oh, thank you. Good to see you all.